Hello everyone. Welcome to Divine Debut. This is Kathy speaking. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. What a time we're going through, eh? We're almost at the end of this massive year of 2020. As I've been saying from the beginning of the year, it's a year which will be written down in history. We all knew this was going to happen, that 2020 would be a point of reference and a major challenge, a major restructuring of our lives on a personal level, but also on a collective scale as well. As I'm sure you've all been feeling, you're all going through your own personal journeys. A lot has happened during this year, and on a world scale, as we could see, there's still so much going on. The story has not ended. The restructuring has not happened yet. It's happening in stages. Now, restructuring is a big word, isn't it? As we know, as you can see on your charts, I've got 0 Aries here. Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in the year 2020 have all been transiting through the sign of Capricorn. We all know what that means. For those of you that are listening to me for the first time, you can reference back to my other old astrological updates and videos. I do have quite a few on my channel, so you can go back and reference those, as I do go into a lot of detail. For those that watch me on a daily scale, daily, weekly, whenever I post, whenever there is a huge planetary shift or something of importance, I always do a reading. We look at the charts, I go through the information. Why I'm doing this video? Because it's a massive change that's coming, okay? As you can see here in the sign of Capricorn, and a lot of you that are following the astrology and what's going on in the world, you have noticed, you know that Saturn now has shifted from its home sign of Capricorn into the sign of Aquarius. And that is big enough as it is on its own. We know that Saturn rules Capricorn, but it also rules Aquarius. It was the ancient ruler of Aquarius before Uranus was founded. Now the modern ruler is Uranus. So we know that Saturn has got to do with the elder, the wiser, the traditional, the way things have always been done. It is a karmic energy. We know that Saturn is the lord of karma, the lord of timing. Even if we look at the mythology, right, for those of you that are familiar, that Uranus was the father. Uranus is the sky, and Uranus was the father, and Kronos, Saturn, Kronos in Greek mythology, Saturn is the Latin word for Kronos. Saturn overthrew his father and took the throne from his father. We know that Saturn in mythology would eat his own children, so he was a dark energy. Okay, so Saturn was part of the Titans before, the Titans that were on the opposite side of the Greek gods, okay, the light. So we've got the light, which is Jupiter, and Saturn, which is the darkness. So yes, the Titans were the darkness, and there was a massive clash back in those times in mythology where the Titans clashed with the 12 gods of Olympus. Now, so Uranus, being the sky, the father, was overthrown by his son Kronos, who took his position. He took the position of being the one to reign, to rule. As we know, Saturn even today has got to do with the patriarch. Okay, those that are in power, those that are put in position because of karmic situations, those who, and you can relate Kronos, that's how I relate Kronos, Saturn to the Emperor. And the Emperor, we know, even in the tarot, has, a position of power. This is what Saturn is in the sky. And he has now shifted to Aquarius. So therefore, as I've been saying, in the sign of Capricorn, his rulership, he was very strong, very stern. He's all about mastery. He's all about systems, the authorities, accountability. Okay, have you done things in the right way? Have you been held accountable if you did not do the things in the correct Saturnian way, because he's a strict teacher? Then karma comes back to bring in what you have worked upon, what you have reaped, what you have sown, you will now reap. This is collectively as well as personally. Okay, Saturn, we know, can be very difficult. A lot of people are scared of Saturn. There's no point in being scared. Saturn also gives the rewards. The strict teacher, the stern teacher, who gives you a lot of homework that you have to complete. He puts you through a test. If you've done your study, then you will prevail. You will excel in what you've been studying, what you've been working on, and you will receive the goodies. Now, Jupiter, on the other hand, which is the sun, Jupiter is the son of Kronos, so he's the grandson of Uranus, the sky. And we know that also Uranus, when Uranus was overthrown by his son Kronos, Kronos took power through literally cutting off his father's what's the word I can use? His father's reproductive organs. And when that happened, his reproductive organs fell into the sea, and from the foam, Venus was born. That's what mythology has told us. But nevertheless, yes, he tricked Uranus and took the throne from him. Then comes karma for even the Lord of Karma, when he used to eat all his children because he did not want to receive his karma, because he overthrew his father. He was being very careful in eating all his children so that they would not overthrow him and take him off the throne. And Jupiter, with the help of his mother, I think it was Rhea tricked him actually and gave him a massive rock to eat instead of giving him the child, her newborn, which was Jupiter. And therefore Jupiter was hidden, and when he came into the when he came of age, he overthrew his father, and therefore from then on he reigned. So again, that was very karmic. That's what happens with karma. It always comes back to bite us in the butt if we have not done the right thing. That's the mythology. And therefore, Jupiter is also another teacher. Jupiter's energy is very different to Saturn. Jupiter was the god Zeus, and He's all about expansion, growth. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and we've got the Sun transiting Sagittarius at this time, and it's on the galactic center, as is Mercury. We've just had an eclipse. It was a solar eclipse, which means new beginnings, but Mercury being so close and on top of the Sun, it is being burnt, so his power is he's very weak right now, and until he can actually move over the Sun, because he's behind the Sun right now, he's usually in front, as he is the messenger of the gods. Remember, even the Sun is our God. It's our vitality, it's our strength, it's our power, and that is what is the leader. The Sun is the leader in our solar system. Therefore, we do speak of kingship as well here with the Sun. Remember that the Sun rules Leo, and Leo is the heart. So there's a lot of creative energies, the Sun being in Sagittarius. It's in a trine to the house of Leo. So the Sun loves transiting Sagittarius, and it's actually on the galactic center. And the galactic center is an opening, it's a portal. As we know, also the eclipse that happened at the 23rd degree a few days ago on the 14th of December, that was another portal opening. Now, we've got the messenger of the gods here. He's burnt, he's very weak, so communication can be very difficult right now, as Mercury is connecting with the Sun. So having those important conversations, he is the messenger, so he's teaming up with the Sun now, receiving the messages as they ingress Sun and Mercury into the sign of Capricorn. As soon as Mercury starts to move over the Sun and move away from the Sun, he will be bringing in those messages. And remember that a lot of things that have happened this year with the stellium, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn, and the South, what am I saying? And of course, Mercury has passed this position before. Mars was here as well at the beginning of the year. So we're going to have a lot of communication, truth. Mercury is also, remember, it's the student, it's finding out things that have been hidden. It's those important conversations that maybe we haven't been open to or not able to receive. And this is going to be a lot about the media as well. Remember that Capricorn is also, it's the boss, it's the authorities, it's our career, it's our status on a personal scale. It's what we strive towards. So remember that the top of the chart here has got a lot to do with our goals, our aspirations. The higher we are in the chart, the closer we are to spirit and the collective energy, because Capricorn is the authorities up to midheaven here. The ninth house of Sagittarius is more, that's where our personal stories end, and then we move more into the collective energies of Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So it's as though a personal story ends here where we don't have a lot of information. Now, of course, we've all got Capricorn in our own birth charts in a particular area of life, depending on your own personal journey and what your rising sign is, of course. So 10th house in Capricorn, where is that in your chart? That's what will be happening in the near, like just around the corner. So going back to here, we've got Jupiter and Saturn. As I was talking about the mythology, I was talking about Jupiter being the ruling planet of Sagittarius. There's a lot of positivity, the fact that the Sun is transiting Sagittarius. It's a very happy sign, happy-go-lucky. It's also a sign that has to do with a teacher, higher education, It's a very spiritual house. It's an academic house. It's a house of free will, freedom, freedom of speech, the freedom to be able to move, to fly to a distant country, to deal with people that are at a distance. Remember, the South Node is here in Sagittarius, which is a bit of a wet blanket on the Sagittarian energy. Unfortunately, those of you that are Sagittarian, suns and rising, you've got the South Node here, which is a bit of a bummer for you, but it's also about fated changes. So having the South Node here, remember that the South Node is what we need to excrete, past karma that we need to let go of. Now Venus is transiting your signs. Venus is soon coming up to the South Node and to the area of where the eclipse happened. So by that time, Mercury will be in this area here. We'll be finding out about love, money, prospects in relation to higher education, what we love, the freedom to move, to, as I said, to excrete, to let go of past karma, and to move into newness, a new love relationship, a new positive outcome in relation to things that we love. Venus is not only love, it's also money, it's also values. Okay, and remember that it also rules Libra. It's the spiritual Venus in the sign of Libra. So what is Libra? Libra is all about balance, harmony, and justice. So that these are areas that we'll be visiting in the next few days. Now, going back here to this massive stellium, just, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction. Now, Saturn yesterday ingressed into the sign of Aquarius, and Saturn is much lighter in the sign of Aquarius. It's not as dark, it's not as heavy. Think of Saturn in Capricorn like it's described as being as heavy as lead. I would describe it in the sign of Aquarius, it turns from lead into aluminium. I mean, aluminium is lighter, right? It's something that is, it's of material, it's based in reality. Remember Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn. Capricorn is earth, but Saturn is also cold. I mean, he doesn't show his emotions. Think of the Emperor. Think of Capricorn. When you're working in a a huge company, and there is hierarchy. The CEO cannot show their emotional side. They have to do what's right by the company. So there's dependency. What I mean was you can depend on Kronos, on Saturn, that if the work has been done, he will come through with the goods. He might give you a pat on the back, but he's not going to give you a hug and say, oh, that's the energy of Saturn, even in Aquarius. Okay, but and we know that Saturn usually so when he ingresses into a new sign, his energy changes. He's not in the same sign for the same amount of time always. He will be transiting the sign of Aquarius for a couple of years. Sometimes he could be in a sign for 2.5 years, but now in the sign of Aquarius, he will be there for a couple of years. So those of you that are Aquarius, sun and rising, obviously it's very important for you. So he's entering the sign of Aquarius, which is an air sign. It's also a fixed sign, so therefore he will be affecting the fixed signs, the fixed cross. And which are the fixed signs? It's Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. For those of you that come under those signs, Saturn will be affecting your lives, no doubt. Now, Jupiter, we know in the sign of Capricorn, has been very weak. He hasn't been as happy there so that he could bring you all the luck, the expansion, the growth, and the benevolence that Jupiter usually brings to people's lives. How I see Saturn is he's the strict teacher. Jupiter is the friendly teacher, the lucky teacher, the happy-go-lucky and open-hearted and very generous teacher. So having those transiting together and Jupiter ingressing in a day. So on the 19th of December, Jupiter will also be coming into, as you could see right there. Let's go forward. So on the 19th, he's at 29:58, so at the 0 degree. Here we go. So they've both moved into the sign of Aquarius. So on the 19th, depending on where you are in the world and the time of day, nevertheless, we're having these two conjunct at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And therefore, Jupiter works much better. He likes to be in air in Aquarius. He's bringing different energies with him. And this conjunction, people, happens every 20 years. Every 20 years. So we're looking at 2020 right now. So it's a massive cycle. So look back at your lives, going back 20 years, so the year 2000, what was happening for you, because this is a grand change. This is a grand synodic cycle. And what synodic means is think of a clock and how it works. Things go like clockwork. We come back and we revisit situations again and again. It's a very important cycle. And of course, even Venus, the planets, for those of you that are more into learning about astrology and are interested in synodic cycles, you could Google it and you're going to learn a lot of information about that. But it's clockwork, everyone. So even though this is a 20-year shift, okay, it's also a 200-year shift. Why? Because every 200 years, these two tend to meet up in a different element. Now, they have been meeting up in the last 200 years in earth signs, with the exception of 1980, in which case they met up, they conjuncted in the sign of Libra, which was a bit of a change. 1918 Libra, and then in 2000 in Taurus. So back in 2000, again, Taurus is fixed energy. Remember that fixed signs don't like change. And it is the next 20 years when this will happen again. These two changing signs, they will be moving into air again. So back in 2000 in Taurus, right? That was the last year that they met up after 200 years, a 200-year cycle of being conjuncting together in earth signs. So now, next 200 years, air signs, and it goes from Aquarius, then it'll go to Gemini, then they'll meet up in Libra, and that's how it goes. But I don't know if you felt this shift. I have felt it, no doubt, with Saturn changing, shifting into Aquarius. Already we're feeling the difference. Even going back to the Sun moving into Sagittarius, even then we felt a little bit of oxygen, a little bit of an opening, but we're still dealing very much with what's been going on with the elections in the US, what's going on in China. There's so many world changes happening right now, and we still will be dealing with these things. And I feel that the because the sun is still in Sagittarius, it's going to transit in the time of Capricorn. It will be touching on the areas that we were looking at from the beginning of the year. Remember this stellium in Capricorn. And the same will happen with Venus, Mercury. Mercury, the sun and Venus will be at the time of Capricorn transiting through the 10th house. So we'll be still looking at back at the beginning of 2020 when this lockdown started, this pandemic started, and this freak show started. We still will be visiting those areas, even through the time of Capricorn. What I feel, everyone, is that probably we're looking at the time of Aquarius when we will have a lot of help from spirit, from the world at large. There will be a collective energy, a collective help, divine help coming through. Remember, Jupiter, Saturn are now, they will be in the sign of Aquarius. Therefore, the sun will be conjoining these two. That'll be massive. Poor Jupiter, through the year of 2020, was sandwiched in between the malefic planet Saturn and Pluto. He was constrained. He felt imprisoned. He was very weak and he was not able to bring in the blessings. Remember that Pluto and Saturn together, the malefics in the house of Capricorn, have tried to control the masses. Pluto is death and transformation, but it's also the masses. Saturn is hierarchy. It's the governments. It's the law. Remember, having to do things in a particular way. And as you all know, as Saturn was at the last degrees, around the 29th degree, which is the anaretic degree, so it's a vital degree. It's like it's now or never. Saturn was trying to end a certain, how can I put this? Trying to control, but also in a certain way. So it's my way or the highway, says Saturn at the last degree of Capricorn. And therefore, that's why recently we've had all those issues about not being able to speak freely. Okay, and that had a lot to do with social media, the media in general, world order, and controlling the masses. Okay, now with Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius, which Aquarius is, it's humanitarianism, it's the people, it's the masses, it's the divine, it's spirit. It's also, remember that Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, and Uranus in Taurus, that will be connecting, will bring massive and radical and acceleration where changes are concerned. Yes, Uranus in Taurus can also be freaky weather, but it can also be, as I see Uranus, it's the tower. This is tower moments that we're going to be visiting. Remember that this is like a breath of fresh air. And it's also a collective energy because Aquarius is groups and associations. It's being part of the collective, but it's also very futuristic. It's the internet, right? Let's see, we're at the 20th of December. We know that the 21st of December is the solstice, everyone. So it is a massive day. It is a huge day. And I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing that even with the naked eye, because these are the last two planets that you can actually see with the naked eye in the sky. If you go outside just after sunset, in the west, you can actually see these two big planets coming together. People are calling it the Christmas star. Nevertheless, they will be together, conjoined, and therefore they will be visible for a little while. So take advantage of that. Have a look at that. Now, we know that the solstice is a very big and very important time, okay? The sun has now ingressed into Capricorn. So happy birthday, dear Capricorn. If it's your birthday now on the solstice, this is a very, very important time for you. Look at this, everyone. I mean, we've got Mercury at 0, the sun is at 0, Juno is at 0 degrees, and we've got Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees. This is freaky. This is crazy. We've also got Uranus in conjunct in a weird and wonky connection to Venus. So Uranus and Venus. We know Uranus is something to do with the future. If there's no value, something needs to be tweaked, to be changed. Okay, we don't have easy flowing energies here, which means something needs to be tweaked for love and our values and our money, because Uranus in Taurus is also, it's the money house. Taurus is all about what we have, what I earn, what I make, what makes me comfortable. And remember that also Uranus in Taurus is also cryptocurrencies. And as a lot of you may know, Bitcoin and those cryptocurrencies have quickly risen. It's sudden changes. So they're going up right now. And I'm going to tell you that could be a bubble that will burst roughly through January. So be very careful with what you're investing. If there is sudden highs, there could be sudden lows. Okay, so keep that in mind. And that doesn't only speak of money. I mean, we know our currencies are changing. They're telling us now that we should, I mean, money is changing. It's going to be only, we're going to be purchasing things through the internet. In Greece, we're on full lockdown. We have to make purchases through the internet. It's not about going to the store and purchasing something. Purchases are made through the internet, so a lot is going to happen. We know that this is a new era we have stepped into. I mean, look at all these 0 degrees. Whenever I see 0 in a chart, even in a personal chart, it is very important, because 0 degrees is, I mean, the planet has just left the 29th degree. Okay, so it's of that vital degree, and it's fresh, new energies, new beginnings all around. It's as though time has stopped. That's how I feel all these 0 degrees in the chart are. That's how the energies are. That's how I read them. And have you all noticed a few days ago we couldn't get into YouTube, we couldn't get into Google. I've heard of banks in Australia being closed, major supermarkets. Something is happening. What's going on in the world, everyone? There's a lot that is happening behind the scenes, which we are going to find out about. There is no doubt about that. Remember that Neptune is still squaring, as you can see, 1952, practically at the 20th degree, the nodes, right? So in mutable signs, those of you that have got important points or planets, even, I mean, your rising, your midheaven, your IC, your descendant at the 20th degree of mutable signs. So Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. It's not easy. It's not easy, because remember that again, the media it's ruled by Neptune. Neptune can be those rose-colored glasses that we've been wearing, or that have been put on us so that we could see things, look at life, look at situations around us without having the truth. right? Without being able to see what's going on. What is the deception that is happening behind the scenes? Remember, Neptune in Pisces is very strong. Now, looking at even the moon here, so on the solstice, this is, let's go forward a little bit, because I'm showing you this in Greek time, and you can Google this to where you are residing. Okay, so looking at the moon here, which is coming into the 0 degree, okay? 0 degrees of Aries. Remember that Aries is the warrior. It's ruled by Mars. Mars is at that 23rd degree of Aries. Remember that eclipse was at the last eclipse in Sagittarius, the new beginning, was at 23 degrees as well. So it's a exact trine, and it's flowing good energy, a lot of fire here, and fire can mean action. Okay, it means new growth. It means life. Without fire, there is no life. And for those of you that don't know, Eris is also here, the sister of Mars. This is the mighty duo. They're both conjoined right here at the 23rd degrees. They're together. We've got the moon at 0 degrees. Remember, it's a brand new cycle. Aries is like the full card here. We've got so many 0 degrees, and even Pluto is at the 23rd degree. Remember, we had this eclipse at 23. Before with the, what was it? It was 23 degrees. It was that new moon in Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check for you, because there's so much to remember. It's just too much. Yeah. So the new moon, hold on. Let's have a look. Okay, so it was a new moon in Scorpio. Remember that the year 2020 is a Plutonian year. So that new moon happened at 23 degrees. Yes, it was 23 degrees, the new moon in Scorpio. And then we had the new moon in Sagittarius at the 23rd degree. But that was a solar eclipse, which is amplified by 10. And think of that, 23 degrees from one sign to the other, that's 30 degrees difference. Okay, so, and Pluto is again 30 degrees, which in astrology is not an easy angle. Okay, being 30 degrees apart is not easy. Okay, so it talks about change. It talks about something needing to happen. And for me, that 23rd degree has got a lot to do with that open portal. It's 11:11, everyone. So the solstice, well, in Greek time, the moon will be in Aries at 0 degrees at 1:04 a.m. So obviously, for those of you that are in the southern hemisphere, this will happen on the 22nd of December. So you're 9 hours roughly ahead. So 22nd of December, let's say early in the morning, around 10ish. That's a very important time. That's how I see it. And it's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Remember that Juno and Venus being conjunct. Juno has got a lot to do with commitments. Okay, also, if there is no value in a commitment, someone may want to free themselves. This is my truth. This is things to do with the law. And remember that also Jupiter, because he rules Sagittarius, it's all about justice as well. Okay, so things happening around law and order, the collective, the divine law, the laws of nature, the laws of the world, the laws of the governments. It's all about laws. And we have felt a lot of restrictions and a lot of a very strong sense of imprisonment. And I'm going to say that even Pisces, remember that it rules prisons, jails, asylums. And a lot of people are feeling very low psychologically. This is like a pressure. I mean, there's a T-square here with Neptune still squaring the nodes. Remember, again, Neptune is also spiritual. Try to take the high road. Try to use your high mind and connect to spirit now, because there's a lot of deception here. Okay, a lot of lack of truth and a lot of that veil that does not let us see what is truly happening here and what is truly happening behind the scenes. This is like being behind a curtain, in a theater. This is what's going on behind the curtain before the curtain opens and the show starts happening. We start seeing what things were being worked on behind the scenes. So the work's being done behind. When will that curtain open? When will the show begin? That's a big question that I'm asking. But I feel that 2021, yes, we will get a very big understanding of what that is. So the curtain will open to a certain extent, and it's going to be opening at different stages in different measurements. So small openings, then bigger openings, until the curtain opens fully and we get the whole story. So as you can see here, I've gone to the 14th of May 2021 when Jupiter has ingressed into Pisces. So obviously he's gone over Saturn and he's moved forward and entered Pisces, which he loves to be there because he's the ancient ruler of Pisces before Neptune was founded. Remember that Neptune is a more outer planet, and the outer planets, so Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they were founded after the closer planets, the planets that were visible with the naked eye. So that's why Jupiter loves to be in Pisces. Now, on the 14th, he's ingressed into his, I could say, his second rulership. Okay, he will get up to the second degree. So on the 20th of the 6th, because this will be roughly 5 weeks until he gets to the second degree, because remember, he will start to slow down. He will start to slow down, and therefore, let's go to the 20th of the 6th. So 20th of June. Right? He's gotten now to the second degree where he's going to station. Let's go forward maybe a day. 20th of June it says here. There we go. So it depends on where you are in the world. 20th, 21st, he starts to station and go retrograde. I mean, he was stationing at the second degree. He slows down, and therefore he's very amplified. His energy from the 14th of May until the 20th of 6th, the closer we get to the 20th of June, the more stronger his energy would be, because he's getting ready to start turning backwards. And remember, a retrograde is an illusion, because it's the way we vision. We could see Jupiter from the Earth's point of view. And of course, it's an illusion. But that's how the energies work with the planets in conjunction to the Earth. So Jupiter will be retrograde until the 18th of October. So from 2 degrees, he will go back into Aquarius on the 29th of July. So he will ingress backwards. On the 29th of July, he enters Aquarius again. Okay, so let's go to that date again and I will show you. So 29th of July. There he is. He's gone back. Let's go a day back. All right, so it's exactly on the 28th of July, again, depending on where you are in the world. He's at 0 degrees, 29th, depending on the hour. Nevertheless, he's gone back. He will reach the point of the 22nd degree. Okay, 22nd degree on the 18th of October. Let's go to the 18th of October of 2021, where he's stationed and turned direct. So obviously when he changes direction, he will always be very potent, okay, very strong. So for those of you that this will affect, of course, obviously, the fixed signs, as I said, the fixed signs, right? So Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus more. Not that he won't affect everyone, but in different ways, obviously, whether you're connected through a square or a trine or a sextile, it all makes a big difference, depending on your own personal chart, of course. And also, for the mutable signs, that will be very, very positive with Jupiter moving into Pisces. So Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini will receive those blessings. Remember those dates that I just mentioned. So the 14th of May until the 20th of June, and even later, because remember the 29th of July, he's going to enter Aquarius. So even up to the 29th of July, the mutable signs will have those blessings. Now, when Jupiter turns retrograde, he brings in the blessings. It's like the blessings that we've missed, we get a chance to redo or re-look at or find those missing blessings that we haven't been able to see. Okay, so it's redoing all retrogrades. That's what they're about. They're about old situations coming back for fixing, for ending, for restarting, and that's what it's all about. Just going back to the now, just wanted to mention that, remember, Saturn has got to do with the old. Uranus, which rules Aquarius, has got to do with the new. So there is like a new air coming into, new fresh air. So this could be, remember that Uranus is more about the right mind. It's more about spirituality. It's the ethers. So this could be divine, yes, divine help. So changing, there's some sort of a reform here where the old gets tossed out and the new, the scientifical, innovative changes. It's a new revolution. That's what I feel Saturn in Aquarius is all about. And of course, Jupiter is the stardust that is sprinkled on top of this energy. So I feel that that's wonderful. Let's go and see now. Let's go forward and just see, because we've got Uranus at 7 degrees, right? 7 degrees. So that means that when Jupiter hits the 7th degree of Aquarius, we've got Aquarius and Uranus here. That is a square. Okay, so we've come to the 10th of January now, 2021. I think that this is an important time to have a look at the chart, as we know with what's going on with the elections as well in the US. Inauguration Day is on the 20th of January, but look at what's going on before that. And we can even go back a few days. I mean, around the 6th of January, I know it's a very important date. for the US elections. But what's important is that Jupiter is at the first degrees here. Mercury is now conjoining with Jupiter, and Saturn is here. So here is the remember what Mercury is. It's the media, it's the children, it's the student, it is communication, it's doing business. This is the messenger as well. He's smack bang in between the two teachers. He doesn't know who to believe. Does he believe Jupiter, that expansive spiritual uncle, or does he believe the strict, stern, difficult teacher? What does he do? I mean, which side does he take? He's in between Jupiter and Saturn. But remember that Mercury moves very fast here. So, and the position that the Aquarius is in versus Taurus is a square. So it's 90 degrees. So the squares are starting to happen between, even Mars conjoining with Uranus. This could be quite explosive. This is not easy energy. Okay, even though Mars doesn't feel comfortable in Taurus, he's not strong. It's Mars could be that spark. Uranus could be that revolution, that tower moment. This could be difficult energies that we're working with. Remember, Uranus, it can be explosive. We've got fire and air here. Fire and air are not easy. Okay, we've got also Uranus squaring over to Saturn. In with the new, out with the old. What's going on here? Now, Jupiter is also squaring, which Jupiter expands on the energies, expands on Uranus and Mars in square. So let's go forward. As Jupiter and Uranus, remember that they're both spiritual. They're both. This is the grandfather with the grandson. Remember that we've got benevolent energies with the Jupiterian energy here. This is like justice. Jupiter brings in justice to the people. And he expands on all the energies. So he is in a Uranian sign, and the square is coming stronger and tighter as we move towards the 20th of January. As you can see, Uranus is now moving direct, okay? So he's come out of his station as he was going retrograde. Now he's stationed and he's turning direct. He's going to pick up pace because he's going over the area that he retrograded, remember? So as you can see here, look at the square and look at the nodes. I mean, they're still very, very strong. This T-square is still, it's like a pressure cooker. So it's very, very interesting what's going on here. And the sun is at the last degrees of Capricorn on the 18th, 19th, 20th on Inauguration Day. The sun is at 0 Aquarius. There are a lot of squares here connecting Mars, Uranus, Jupiter, even Saturn here still at 3 degrees. This is like a party. It's Aquarius time. Happy birthday if you are an Aquarian person. We've got a beautiful trine here, Mercury connecting to the North Node. So this could be communication, anything to do with business, the internet, and it has to do with the North Node in Gemini, which means we're being able to look at both sides, maybe even make a decision. Okay, what is fated will be happening here. There is a lot of air here. We've got a lot of air, which speaks of the future as well. The internet, this is a revolution. Okay, this is mastery. And this is also, it's got a lot to do with the people. All right, so this is going to be a very interesting outcome. What's going to happen here? The sun is in a weird aspect to the North Node. And the sun is very weak in Aquarius because it does rule the sign of Leo. So obviously with all this Aquarian energy, again, it is affecting mainly the fixed signs. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on this day in the world, as we know that it's going to be like a new chapter in 2021. Practically, I would say towards the end of January it's like that's when we're starting all the newness. We're coming out of the old. Remember, even with Venus, I'm going to say Venus still transiting. Let's go forward as she's racing through the sign of Capricorn. Let's see as she comes to the last degrees and she conjoins in the sign of Aquarius. So 2nd of February 2021, Mars has now moved over, is moving away from Uranus. It's smooth, much more smooth sailing here, I would say, more than likely. Okay, so I will leave it there. I'm going to go into each individual sign now. Just one last thing I wanted to mention. Look at this kite that we've got, the kite configuration, which is 2 sextiles connecting Juno to the Sun and Jupiter and the Moon. So 2nd of February, about 1:30 p.m. This is Greek time, everyone. And this is a massive, beautiful energy. So a beautiful grand trine happening in the sign of air. This is an amazing moment of seeing what is our path. You know, the sun and the moon connection, big deal. This is a big deal. And of course, the focal point is at the top of the kite, which speaks of commitments. And remember that, again, Juno in Sagittarius, she was married to Jupiter, and she is in Jupiter's sign. So dealing with karmic releases, I would say, because this is the focal point. And this is a grand trine, which is saying strong communications. Air means lighter energy, quick things coming through. There's helpful energies from the divine. And there's another focal point here with a sextile pointing to Mars. Okay, Mars, the warrior. Remember, Mars in Taurus, it's all about values. And he's in new turf here, but of course, it does deal again with our values. Our values. So what is important, what is of value and what is not. That is the focal point. That's where God's finger is pointing to. So are we emotionally connected to this marriage, to this commitment, or do we need to shed the old and bring in the new? Okay? And that is all about taking the action towards doing that. All right, let's go into each individual sign now, starting off with the sign of Aries. Happy solstice, dear Aries. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so this major conjunction, this ingress with these two big planets. And if you haven't listened to the collective astrology, please do go back to the beginning and listen so that you can understand what's going on, because I don't go into many details here. But Aries, this is your 11th house. So the 11th house speaks of friendships, groups and associations. You could have new friendships that are coming into your life, important people, because both these two big giant planets can be teachers as well. Okay, so important people coming into your life. This is also the house of wishes and dreams. Remember that this could be new friendships through the internet. This could be also about having a sense of freedom, since these two giant planets have moved into your 11th house. 11th house can also speak of income coming through after career. Okay, so that is what's going on for you with these two major planets changing signs. So at this point, I mean, Venus is in your 9th house, so this could be things to do with values, where your ideas are concerned, your religion. You could be, I mean, love could be at a distance, or this could be a spiritual love that's coming into your life. This could be happening for you, because remember that 9th house where Venus is placed, 9th house could be, because it's people that are from different cultures or from different religions, but it's also a very spiritual house. This could be a very strong spiritual connection that is coming into being for you, because Juno is also there in your 9th house. For some of you, this could be someone that's at a distance that you're connecting to, of course. Jupiter in Aquarius, that's, remember, the 11th house is also the house of the internet. So that could be what's happening for you. Okay, so new beginnings in those areas of your life. Okay, dear Aries, so interesting also that the sun has just entered your 10th house, and that is your status. It's your career. It's your status, it's your career. It's also the boss. Remember the 10th house? So climbing up that ladder, this could even be a promotion for some of you. No doubt. So you've had it tough through 2020. It's time for you to reap beautiful rewards, dear Aries. So wishing you well. Thank you so much for listening and for giving me a like, for sharing, for commenting. Talk to you soon. Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. Okay, so for you it's happening, this major ingress here with these two giant planets is happening in your 10th house, the house of career, the house of promotion. Some of you could be taking on a position, taking on the throne. So this is becoming a boss. Remember that 10th house is also, you know, you've climbed that ladder. So whether it's a promotion or whether you're taking on the throne, you could be taking on the position of your father. Remember, 10th house is also the father. Therefore, you will have added responsibilities. But the 10th house is also the house of your social standing in the world. How are you seen out in the world? So your social standing, right? This is, 10th house is the house of your goals, your aspirations. So it is the door to career, but it's also a time of getting to those goals. Remember that Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter brings in the benevolence, the luck, and Saturn brings in the rewards. So after proving yourself that you are doing the work, Saturn will also reward you. And these are also teachers. Maybe remember we've got the Sun and the Father, Saturn being the Father and Jupiter being the Sun. So the Sun now passing over Saturn in the 10th house for you says that you're excelling, you're bringing in new innovative ideas to old traditions. So that's what's important for you. Now, of course, your ruling planet is in your 8th house. So Venus is in your 8th house, which this is the house of transformation. Venus could also mean money coming through from other sources. The Venus in Sagittarius, she needs freedom as well. So this could be a time of freeing yourselves. Remember, 8th house. And Sagittarius is all about being able to free yourselves if you have been needing to shed a commitment from the past. Even Juno is here in your 8th house. But the South Node is here. So you're dealing with something karmic that you need to shed. So for those of you that have had money issues and you've been relying on a partner, maybe this is your freedom here where you're able to bring in the money now and you've got, you're trumping a partner, maybe even letting go of a karmic partnership here. This can be a partnership in work as well. Okay, so I will leave it there, dear Taurus. I do hope that that gives you clarity and understanding. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Wishing you well, and happy solstice to all of you. Hello, Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, for you, this big ingress of Saturn and Jupiter they'll be moving into your 9th house. 9th house of religion. It's the house of truth, the house of freedom. It's the house of law and order. It's also the house of justice and higher education and travel, dealing with people that are from different races. 9th house, Jupiter transiting your 9th, beautiful. That's his natural house that he rules. He naturally rules the 9th house. So there is a beautiful sense of expansion and growth. It doesn't mean that you don't need to still do the work. Saturn is still there, remember. But I feel that there is a sense of freedom, a freedom that you could speak your truth. Some of you could be dealing with legalities as well. And you need to keep the faith because it is a time of justice for you. Remember that Jupiter in your 9th, he will bring blessings. Now, for some of you, and I'm going to say that because the 9th house is also, it's the house of a second marriage. Some of you could be moving into legalities, or I'm going to say this could even be blessings that are coming through for you. So if you've been since you've been going through a lot of transformation in your 8th, and the 8th house is death and transformation. If you were in a narcissistic, difficult connection which needed to transform, remember that also, you've got the North Node in your sign. So the South Node is in your 7th house. You're needing to let go of past karmic connections, marriage maybe. And you've been working on that. You've been working on your karma. I feel that the transformation could be, for some of you, making space so that you could bring in a second firm connection. And therefore, at some point after doing the work, you could be heading towards a second marriage. So that's important for you, dear Gemini. And remember, 9th house, don't lose faith, okay, because this is going to be a challenge for you. Now, if you are dealing with someone that is from a different religion as well, this could also be, because Saturn is the traditional, it's letting go of the old, as Saturn is putting on a new pair of socks in Aquarius, and that's your 9th house. So different ideas. This is expanding your horizons. Okay, dear Gemini, so I feel that that's what's going on for you. At some point, we will be able to travel. I don't know when, but we're working on it. So Gemini, I will leave you with that. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Wishing you well. I will talk to you soon. Hello, Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising. Thank you for joining me here. Okay, these two giant planets will be ingressing into your 8th house. It's the house of death and transformation. It's money from others. It's also the house of mysticism. Now, they're both, we know that Jupiter is higher education. Okay, they're both teachers. Okay, now Saturn is all about karma. What is some of you could be facing a karmic situation that you're wanting to let go of, to free yourself up from. But remember also that Saturn does bring the rewards in your 8th house. So that could be, some of you could be growing spiritually, maybe even wanting to do a business and work with others. This could be anything to do with spirituality, mysticism, and also this could be, yes, money coming from external sources if you are doing your own business in those areas. Okay, so that's where the work will be done, the blessings, but also the hard work with Saturn in your 8th house. So we know that the 8th house can be a house of fear as well. So don't get stuck in the fear. Keep your head up high. Jupiter will bring you blessings, obviously. Saturn is not as dark at this point in the sign of Aquarius. This is shedding the old, which is Saturnian, and coming in, bringing in the new, which is Jupiter in Aquarius. This is newness, this is expansion. This could be also blessings coming from the ethers for you, where a transformation needs to happen for you. We know that a death and transformation can be difficult, and it's a process, but Jupiter will help you expand. Okay, and this could be an eye-opener for you. And when I speak of an eye-opener, I'm talking about that third eye, okay? That connection to the divine. All right, so it's like you're coming out of your cocoon, dear Cancer, and going through that chrysalis, chemical, alchemical change. That's what your life is going through. Okay, now, so Venus now is transiting your 6th house. We know Venus transiting your 6th. This is all about work. Okay, you need to shed something of the old. This could be you leaving an old job and doing something of your own here. Okay, with the help of a spiritual teacher. This is like going through the dark night of the soul, I would say, working with your shadow energies, but don't lose faith, dear Cancer. It's a very benevolent and transformative time for you. Okay, as the sun is also moving through your 7th house of partnerships, and Pluto is in your house of partnerships as well. So you're shedding things that need to go from your life. And remember also Venus in your 6th house of health. This is saying take care of you, keep your faith. Remember that also a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. It's time for you to look after yourself. All right, so I will leave it there, dear Cancer. I do hope that that gave you a little bit of clarity. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Wishing you well. Hello, Leo Sun and Leo Rising. Hope that you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, Leo, now the big ingress of Jupiter and Saturn will be happening in your 7th house of partnerships, whether it's, it's any sort of relationships, whether it's business, family. I mean, it's other people, right? It could be also, it's the house of marriage, the 7th house. What I feel here, because this is where relationships turn serious, with Saturn in your 7th house, this could be talking about massive changes, and Jupiter is that stardust energy. It's expansion and growth, but Saturn can help make a relationship official. So a lot of you could be getting ready to get married. Okay, this is a very important time for you. Remember that these massive giants are moving into your the house of others. So it's people that are opposite you. Excuse me. So it's a very, very important time. Now, this could also be a partnership with a spiritual teacher. Some of you could be furthering studies or partnering up with people in anything to do with education. Remember, anything around spirituality. And don't forget, because Jupiter, yes, Jupiter is the house, it's the planet of benevolence, but he's also about justice, law and order. So I feel that with Jupiter and Saturn, I mean, Jupiter moving through an air sign can sometimes be over optimistic or try to over expand. Saturn is sort of trying to hold him back. So this is not escaping, like getting ahead of yourself where positivity is concerned. This is divine help, but Saturn will reward you, as he will bring air and make it into, it will solidify, sorry, I need some water. One moment. Wow. I'm going to say be careful with your conversations and your communications with others, because I just had a tickle in my throat and that does say something. So I do feel that a lot of you will get official. You will commit to partnerships. You could commit to working with others. Okay, and I feel that it's very, very positive indeed for you, dear Leo. So I'm wishing you well. As also Venus in Sagittarius in your 5th. This is the house of fun. If there's been too much seriousness, dear Leo, you're hoping to create something different. So you're shedding something to do with the past. In your 5th house is the South Node. So you're letting go of something old to move into something new. You're wanting to create, this could even be a new chapter in your life where you're leaving that old chapter and taking your commitment, your relationships to the next level. All right, so I will leave you with that. I do want to wish you well. Thank you for listening, for liking, sharing, and subscribing. All the best, dear Leo. Love and light. Hello, Virgo and Virgo rising. Thank you for joining me here. My dear Virgo, Saturn and Jupiter will be entering your 6th house of work, a house of service, pets, your health, your daily routine. Okay, so Jupiter brings expansion. Of course, we know that the 6th house is, because it's health, it's obviously the physical body, right? So Jupiter being there, you know that Jupiter expands, but Saturn does the opposite. He retracts. So there could be fluctuations where your weight is concerned. So this could be you needing to take up a new health regime. Remember that Jupiter is spiritual as well. So some of you could be starting a spiritual practice, working for someone. This could be you doing, I mean, if Saturn, let's say, is in your 6th house, he is limiting, remember. So it's hard work. You're going to have a lot on your plate where your daily routine is concerned. It's also work, too much work, being busy, that could also weigh on your health. So a healthy mind leads to a healthy body. You could be using a spiritual practice to bring, to help you sort of bring in a balance, a healthy balance. So not doing, because Saturn is practical, Jupiter is more spiritual. You need a healthy balance where your practicalities, your material things are concerned, your material rewards are concerned. So remember, as I say always, Saturn is hard work, but Jupiter will lighten the load for you. Some of you could be working with you could have two bosses. You could have a benevolent, really positive, open-minded boss, and then you could have that strict, wet blanket sort of a boss. You know what I mean? So there's double energies in both Jupiter and Saturn. Remember, this is a major thing. I mean, Saturn will be transiting your sixth that will be for a couple of years. So you're going to be very busy, but the rewards will come. The rewards will come, even though it can be quite limiting. Yes, Saturn is limiting. It asks that you do more. This is you believing in your abilities. Remember that Jupiter, once he touches the sign of Pisces, that will be the beginning of the blessings coming into your seventh house. So maybe this could be a new partnership. This could be anything to do with others. So blessings coming in through partnerships, romance, family. I feel that you're sort of proving yourself here before you can reap the rewards. And you will be reaping the rewards, dear Virgo, because Saturn is not as heavy in Aquarius as he was in your fifth house, okay, in Capricorn. This could even be you becoming a teacher, because obviously with Saturn having pressured you in your fifth house of creativity, you could now be working with people, with others as well. Working with people on anything to do with spirituality. There's benevolence around you nevertheless. There's benevolence, and I feel that you are reaping good rewards, dear Virgo. So just take care of your health. I'm going to say with Saturn moving through your sixth. Okay, just do your checkups. This is nothing to worry about. All right, as long as you're taking care of your body as well as your mind within your daily routine. Remember, it's the house of health. All right, so I will leave it there. I want to thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. One last thing before I leave you. Venus is now transiting your fourth house of the past, your family. Remember, the South Node is there. Venus will be conjoining with your past karma that you need to shed. You could be leaving something to do with a family situation, something to do with a home, okay? Fourth house is also the home. So you could be changing homes here and moving out on your own. You could even be moving a business away from your home to another area. There's so much that could be panning out with these transits. All right, dear Virgo, thank you so much. Love and light to you all. Talk to you soon. Hello, Libra Sun and Libra Rising. Thank you for joining me here. Okay, Jupiter and Saturn have ingressed into your fifth house of romance, creativity, children. This is lucky games. Jupiter transiting your lucky game house. This could be you chasing a lottery ticket. Well, Saturn could be a bit of a limiter. I mean, he's holding you back, but remember also that the rewards will come. So any risk taking at this time, I'm going to say, even if you fall flat on your face, whatever you're trying to bring into being, your risk can pay off after the work is done. Remember, it's got to do with children as well. So having Jupiter in your 5th house, remember it's the house of romance and flirtation. It's also your fun house, but it's also being able to create something. Some of you could be creating your own business at home and stabilizing that with Saturn there. It's gonna ask of you that you work very hard. You've got the stardust, which I call Jupiter there. So something can be limiting in all those areas that I've just spoken to you about. Now, it's interesting that Pluto is still transiting your 4th house of home, things to do with the past that you're trying to transform. The Sun is also transiting through your 4th. So things to do with your home, with a home, with things to do with the past, things to do with your stability. I love to see that Jupiter is in your 5th, and he will be entering your 6th as well soon. So in the second, well, towards the end of 2021. But remember that Saturn being in your 5th house for a couple of years, this could be a long-term, like a flirtation that starts to take on a different phase. So turning romance into something long-term. It can be quite limiting with Saturn there, but he will also prove to give you the rewards once you've been standing in your integrity and you've been working, putting in the effort there. So that's what I see for you. Now, Venus is transiting your third house, and the South Node is in your 3rd house of communication, working with people that are close to you and in your area. The South Node is there, which means something needs to be let go. Something karmic, something old that is very familiar to you needs to be shed. Something that is not of value to you, something that is stunting your growth, Leo. 3rd house can also speak of siblings, neighbors, people that are close to you in your area. And it can also speak of anything that is mobile. So anything to do with technology as well. Okay, so that's what's going on for you, dear Libra. I do hope that you understand where and what's going on for you now. Jupiter, I'm going to leave you with Jupiter in your 5th. I feel is fantastic. Just take care, like with Jupiter entering your 6th house, because he expands on everything. Some of you could be coming into spiritual practice, but Jupiter can also mean that there is expansion on the physical body. Also, Jupiter is it's the mind. Remember, it's the way we process things, especially being in Aquarius. So this is like you growing spiritually, or maybe even expanding your spiritual dealings with others. This could, as I said, a spiritual practice. But also because the 6th house is our health, it can also expand the waistline. So just maybe try and, I don't know, take care of your daily routine. Maybe start a health regime. Try and keep fit to keep the waistline down, I would say, more than likely. And of course, 6th house can also be Jupiter there being, that could be a spiritual teacher that you'll be dealing with on a daily basis. Okay, that could be you working and expanding and bringing blessings into your daily routine as well. So Libra, I do hope that gave you a little bit of clarity. I want to leave it there. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Wishing you well, dear Libra. All the best to you. Hello, Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Rising. Thank you for joining me here. dear Scorpio, Jupiter and Saturn will be entering, or they have entered, your fourth house of family, your home, your mother, things to do with the motherly figure. This is also your heritage, things to do with the past. This could be an actual home where we know that Saturn, of course, it's like it's asking for you to do work. This could be a stern parent or some form of a limitation. It's asking for you to work harder. Okay, Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter is law, it's justice, it's very expansive, and it's going to be moving very quickly through your fourth. It will be touching on your fifth and then going back into your fourth again. Remember that both Saturn and Jupiter, they're spiritual teachers, but Saturn is the one that brings things from the ethers to this 3D realm. So there is a sense of wanting to expand, wanting to revolt against any limitations or any strict energies. You're wanting a sense of freedom, but doing the work here. And remember that Saturn in Aquarius is not as hard as he was in Capricorn. Remember, Jupiter also can speak of law and justice. So I see that Jupiter in Aquarius is a very freeing energy, where Saturn has lost his power, let's say, in comparison to transiting through your third house. He's lost his power in a sense. So this could also be a sense of freedom here from anything that was limiting or karmic, to do with your past, to do with your heritage, to do with a home in general. Yeah, dear dear Scorpio. Why did I say Leo? Wow, okay, sorry about that, dear Scorpio. So now, Scorpio, also, Venus is now in your second house, and the South Node is also in your second house. So things to do with your values and your money, you need to shed something karmic of the past. As, of course, now the Sun will be, in the time of Capricorn, it will be transiting through your third, your house of communication, collaboration, the student. Pluto is also in your third as well. So there is some form of a transformation, a very slow, that's your ruling planet, very slow transformation to do with third house matters, siblings, neighbors, anything to do with the internet is the third house as well. And so there is some form of a letting go, so more lighter energies to do with third house matters for you as Saturn and Jupiter move into your fourth. Okay, so some form of a transformation. Remember also that both the, Saturn and Jupiter having been in your third house, you've all this year, all the year of 2020, you've been dealing with issues that needed to change, issues around you, the way you communicate, things to do with your siblings, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, anything that is mobile. Remember that the third house also rules the students. So you're transforming something, obviously, in the whole of 2020. Something is changing in that area of your life. And now, sort of, I'm going to say that because Jupiter is stronger now in your fourth, the blessings are going to come from your home now, even though it's asking for hard work. Yes. And remember that Aquarius in your fourth says that things to do with the internet and the future, it's very scientific. Jupiter is airy-fairy in Aquarius, I feel here. Just be careful not to be over-optimistic, as Saturn will pull you back. Okay, so something to do with fourth house matters. That could be a new home. that you've been trying to work towards, right? And Saturn says, okay, there is a chance for that now, but you're sort of like at the tail end of the situation. As Saturn is lighter here. And I'm going to say also, Scorpio, that Jupiter will be dipping his toes into your 5th house of creativity, romance, fun, risk-taking, and children. So Jupiter loves to be in Pisces. So I'm telling you that from the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, a lot of benevolence and luck will be coming into your 5th house, your house of risk-taking, children, creativity, romance. So it will be a much more fun, loving time for you. Okay, you still got a bit of work to do, but you're coming out of that difficulty, remember, of that 3rd house, 2020. You're letting go of that. And now Jupiter entering your 4th house of home. Wow. I mean, this could mean, Saturn solidifies. He solidifies the blessings that Jupiter brings in. What are those blessings? What's coming into your home? You would know better than I do. All right, dear Scorpio, I do hope that gave you a little bit of clarity. I want to thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Sending you much love and many blessings. Happy solstice. Hello, Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising. I want to wish you a happy birthday. And wow, you just had a new moon, a solar eclipse in your own house. So what's going on for you, dear Sagittarius? Wow, new beginnings all around. Now, Jupiter and Saturn have left your 2nd house of values, money. Remember, they were quite restrictive and very transformative in your 2nd house. And now they've moved into your 3rd house. 3rd house is all about communication. It's the internet. It's your siblings, your uncles, your aunts. Things to do with writing, speaking, publishing. It's the students. It's the house of the student, but it's also the house of being mobile. Now, you have felt very restrictive. You are a sign of freedom. You want your freedom. Now, Jupiter is your ruling planet. So, wow, Jupiter now in your 3rd will bring a lot of expansion, just because Saturn is a little bit limiting and he's all about control. He's not as strong, though, in the sign of Aquarius. So I would say that Saturn in Aquarius mostly brings the rewards. Saturn sort of checks on you because your ruling planet will be racing through your 3rd house of dealings with your environment, okay, and all the things I mentioned before as well. And will be dipping his toes into your 4th house. And that 4th house is the house of the home. It's your family. It's an actual home. It's got to do with your past, how you feel safe and secure and nurtured. Okay, so Jupiter is going to be very strong in your 4th. So that's going to bring your blessings. So from the end of the year 2021 and all the year 2022, Jupiter will be in your home, which will bring blessings for you. Remember that the 4th house is the house of the mother. As I said, Saturn can be a little bit limiting as he's sort of checking up on Jupiter, but you're leaving him behind you and you're racing ahead. Now, you're going to feel a much more sense of relief and freedom, dear Sagittarius. So some of you, wow, because obviously Venus now, Venus is money, love, and values. She will be, she's transiting your 1st house, and Juno is there as well. So it's got to do with your commitments, your obligations, your marriage, let's say. Some of you are dealing with a karmic situation that you need to shed. South Node is in your sign, remember? So you're going through some form of a test, as Venus very soon, in the next few days, will be right on the South Node. But Venus will also, and I feel As soon as she gets to the 23rd degree, she will also be on the eclipse degree, which is very close to that, to the galactic center. Wow, I couldn't remember that. And therefore, she will be right on that degree of the eclipse. Remember, that was a new beginning for you, but something needs to be shed, eclipsed out of your life, and it's probably got to do with values, money, or some form of a commitment, dear Sagittarius. That's exactly what I feel that is all about. Okay, and I feel that you're going to feel a sense of freedom, a sense of being able to move forward. There's a lot to do with futuristic matters and a lot to do with the internet. So your communication through the internet. Third house is it's the student. You've got the, remember that Jupiter is a teacher, so is Saturn. They're transiting your house of the student. So some of you could be becoming a teacher. Okay, you could be dealing with students. You could be teaching some form of a spiritual practice. Jupiter is also religion. Something very innovative, because that's Aquarius for you. Your third house is Aquarius. So you could be, because how I see Saturn and Jupiter together, Jupiter is more airy-fairy. It's like, it's air, right? So it's expansion, but Saturn actually materializes. That's the positive thing that with Saturn, that he limits, but he also brings air and brings it in the form of the 3D form. So it brings it down to earth, makes it into reality, makes it real. So, dear Sagittarius, I think that that's what I have for you. I do hope that it all works out well for you. Okay? As, of course, Pluto and all that difficulty for you in your second house. Second house is the money house, but it's also the house of value. If you haven't been on the same page, sharing the same values with others, Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter through the year of 2020 have been changing things up in your second house. So things that you own, your values, a lot of changes, a lot. Okay, so Pluto is still there, and Pluto can also mean riches. Now, Jupiter expands in your third house. If you're doing a business and collaborating with a small group through the internet, small group of people, could be concerning your environment, that could be like you could be solidifying something like that. So I will leave it there for you, Sagittarius. I do hope that that gave you some clarity. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Sending you much love. Happy solstice, dear Sagittarius. It will be interesting to see. I'd love to hear your comments. Ta-da for now. Hello, dear Capricorn. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here, dear Capricorn. Very, very important. This change of energies with your ruling planet moving out of your house and into your second house, coming out of your first house and moving into your second, but also Jupiter, which is very strong in your money house. Second house means that there will be changes, a big shift in your values, in what you own, what makes you feel comfortable, and things to do with your money. Remember that the second house is also the five senses, and it's the physical body, dear Capricorn. Now, you've been going through so much the whole of 2020, and I want to wish you a happy birthday as well. You've been going through a lot the whole of 2020 with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto there. So your whole life has changed, dear Capricorn. Now, with your ruling planet in Aquarius, it's not as heavy as what it was in your own sign. Obviously, with all, the hard work that you had to put in, logically, Saturn will be giving you the rewards now, okay? you will have some form of a reward. Remember that our first house is a very personal house. It's got to do with our lives, our physical body. It's how we're seen out in the world. It's the house of I, me, my. So it was very limiting for you, and you had to prove yourself, dear Capricorn. Now, with Jupiter, much more free, loving, much more able to speak, to express himself. Jupiter, remember, expands, so it will bring you luck. And Jupiter in Aquarius, of course, don't forget that both Aquarius and Capricorn, they're both ruled by Saturn. So, but Saturn is not as harsh here. And Jupiter will be bringing luck and expansion to you, but also how I see Saturn here is trying to hold Jupiter back in a sense. But he can be a little bit limiting and asking that you still do the work, but not as bad as when he was transiting your first house. And the good thing with Saturn, yes, and Jupiter, these are the spiritual teachers. Remember that Saturn can be a strict teacher. He can be karmic, but Jupiter would be that happy-go-lucky spiritual teacher. This could be anything to do with bringing the air, bringing the ethers down here to the earth for you. So bringing things into reality. It's not only about what goes on up in the sky. It's about making it practical, making it real. And this is happening for you in your second house. Now also Jupiter will be entering the sign of Pisces. If you haven't listened to the collective part of the reading in the beginning, I would suggest you do so, as I go into a lot of information there. So Jupiter will be dipping his toe into Pisces. He loves Pisces. He's the ancient ruler of Pisces. And the third house is all about collaboration, communication, publishing, speaking, writing, short distance travel. It's the house of siblings. It's the house of your uncle, your aunts. He's going to be very, very generous in the sign of Pisces. He will be moving there towards the end of 2021, and he will be transiting Pisces in 2022. So you are, and I feel, because remember that Saturn for a couple of years will be transiting your second house, so you'll have a couple of years dealing with Saturn in your second house. But Saturn, remember, he's all about the old, the tradition. In Aquarius, he's all about the new. So there's some form of a change here, something that may have been limiting, that you've been trying to break the traditions and do things in a different way, because you may have different values to a strict teacher, or someone that you were dealing with in the past, or some form of karma that you're dealing with in the past. And that will be changing for you. Okay, so very, very important time for you, dear Capricorn. Now Venus is transiting your 12th house, and of course the South Node is there. 12th house can mean, it is a very karmic house. It's a major cycle ending, but it's also a house of escapism, imprisoning. It's the house of limitations, so feeling as though you are blocked by a certain karmic situation, or needing to deal with past karma. This could even be shedding a clandestine relationship, could be something that was very calming for you, or just if it's not a clandestine relationship, some of you could be in a secretive relationship, and you're letting go of a past commitment or a marriage, hoping to move towards a spiritual connection where there's more value. Okay, because even, I mean, Jupiter in your second, maybe you have conjoined with someone spiritually and you're hoping to bring that into reality, into the world, into your reality. And you know, even Juno and Venus, they're both transiting your 12th. So this is very interesting for you. So we know that with our solar return, and you're going to have your new moon obviously very soon. Okay, so we know that with our solar return, it's like a brand new beginning. So blessings are coming in for you, dear Capricorn. The sun has just entered your sign, so you're going to start seeing things that will be shed. Remember that eclipse? That eclipse in Sagittarius happened in your 12th house. So it happened, something behind your back needs to be eclipsed, or something secretive needs to be let go of. Remember, the 12th house is also very spiritual. It's also very spiritual as well. So interesting, because Venus and Juno do bring blessings together. They're all about commitment. Remember that your 12th house, I mean, behind you is Sagittarian energy. And Sag is fire. Sag is ruled by Jupiter. So there is some sort of a connection there with your 12th house and your second house. So I will leave it up to you. You know your own personal journey and what's going on for you. So I will leave it there. I want to thank you so much, my dear Capricorn people. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. I am wishing you well, and again, happy birthday and happy solstice. Hello, my dear Aquarius, Sun in Aquarius and rising Aquarius. Thank you for joining me. Wow, you are at the forefront of this situation. You're up on stage. It's time for you to give a performance, dear Aquarius. With Saturn and Jupiter having moved into your sign now, of course, Jupiter will bring you benefits. It will expand. Be careful, because the first house is also the physical body. Some of you could be putting on weight, expanding your waistline. Do take care about that. I don't know if it's going to be a pregnancy or if it's going to be how you're seen out in the world. You're going to be shown, you're going to be put on the map. I mean, Jupiter transiting your first house, very, very beautiful, okay, because Jupiter brings luck, it brings expansion, growth, spirituality. Remember that Jupiter was the god of all gods, so you've got the divine really pushing your life forward. Now, Saturn is a little bit limiting, even though you are ruled by Saturn. So the downfall here could be that, yes, okay, so you're listening to this because either your rising is Aquarius or your sun is Aquarius. So Saturn moving through Aquarius will be either on your sun or on your... Now, don't forget that we've also got the personal planets, Mercury and Venus, that are usually very close to the sun. Don't forget that Saturn could be conjoining with those planets, or, you know, conjoining with your sun, or being up on your rising, which the rising, again, it's the door to your first house. So he can be a little bit limiting, but it's not as heavy in Aquarius. Okay, so he's more about practicality, making things real, not so much airy-fairy as Jupiter in Aquarius, because Jupiter is all about justice, about truth, about expansion, benevolence. Aquarius is the rebel. Aquarius is the internet, it's the maverick, it's the innovator. So some of you could be creating something with a benevolent Jupiter here, creating something. Remember, first house is how you're seen in the world. So Some of you could be coming across to others as quite spiritual at this time, or someone's that's willing to expand on either, I'm going to say, something scientific, something spiritual, something that is very ethereal, I'm going to say. Because Aquarius, you're all about the internet. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, slowly and steadily. And I mean, you've been shedding a lot of things behind your back. I mean, if Saturn and Jupiter, Saturn and Jupiter are in your first house, that means the whole of 2020, they were transiting your 12th house. 12th house is a spiritual house, but it's also a house of endings. It's a house of imprisonment. Now, you hate being imprisoned. You need freedom. Jupiter is also about freedom. You're about freedom. This is a big sense of escaping, getting freed from any dark karmic limitations of the past, of the year 2020. Okay, and this is Jupiter, which is moving very quickly through your sign, so bringing the blessings in very quickly. And then he's going to actually touch on your second house of money, what you own, and your values, and then retrograde back into your first house. Remember, because it's a very personal house, it's all about you. It's all about you now. And now, as I was saying, 12th house can be ending a major karmic cycle, or something was ending behind your back. Something was going on behind your back that needed to end, to transform. Now, and that was very heavy because Saturn in Capricorn was really heavy. A karmic planet in a karmic house. Wow. I mean, wow. And Venus now, as I'm doing this reading, is transiting your 11th house of friendships. 11th house is also the house of groups, associations, wishes. It's also the house of the internet, and it's also the house of freedom, right? The 11th house, it is a house of doing things in a maverick way, in a new scientific way. That's what the 11th house is. And Venus with Juno are transiting now your 11th, as is the South Node. So this is letting go of something, maybe a wish fulfillment that something that you've been wishing upon, I'm going to say, because remember that we had that eclipse, that new moon eclipse, the solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius on the 14th of December. The South Node is at 19-20 degrees. So that's something familiar that you need to shed, something karmic. But Venus will be moving over the South Node and will be on the point of the eclipse in your 11th house, which means that eclipse was all about a new beginning. But something needs to be eclipsed out of your 11th house. This could even be you're eclipsing out of your life an old friend that's going to become a new love. I'm just saying, love could be coming through from friendships, from a group and an association. Okay, but I see much more freedom here, and obviously it's helpful. Yes, Saturn can be limiting, but he can also be bringing in rewards to you and your own life because of the work that you've already done, that karmic release that you've done. Now it's all about different energies where this is a major shift, and it's going to affect your life on a very fundamental level. Indeed. All right, dear Aquarius, so at the time that I'm doing this reading, yes, the sun is transiting your 12th house. So again, It's a quiet time for you mainly. Get ready, because you're going to kick into action on your birthday. This is your time. This is your time. And I just wanted to mention also, roughly around your birthday, we're going to have Mercury retrograde, which can also mean an old situation or someone from the past could be coming back into your life. That's happening around your birthday. So it's going to be very interesting, right? And also, I'm going to say you could be going through some form of hardship as well. Why? Because Uranus, your ruling planet, will be squaring these two here. So if you haven't listened to the collective portion of the reading, please do. Okay, because there will be a square. Mars is going to come up to Uranus here. They're going to conjoin and they will be squaring over to these energies. So I'm going to say beginning, and your ruling planet is going to start to move direct as well, which is a big deal. It's a big deal, and that's going to happen right in the beginning of January. So it's going to be quite changeable, interchangeable, very much of a life change, dear Aquarius. I'm wishing you well with that. I do hope that this gave you a little bit of clarity and understanding, sending you a lot of love, a lot of light. Thank you so much, dear Aquarius, for all that you do. Happy solstice also. Hello, hello, and welcome, dear Pisces, Pisces Sun and Pisces Rising. Thank you for joining me here. Wow, this big ingress for you, Saturn and Jupiter, they have just entered your 12th house. So your house of the subconscious, a major cycle ending in your life. This is a spiritual house, as well as a house of imprisonment, escapism, fears, dear Pisces. So it's interesting that Saturn will be transiting this, the house, the sign of Aquarius for the next couple of years, but Jupiter will soon be moving into your sign. So you're going to have the blessings of Jupiter. And if you haven't listened to the collective energy for everyone in the beginning, please do so as I go into the details. Remember that Jupiter is your ancient ruler. So you're going to have blessings coming in. And I do also mention when. So that's really good. Jupiter will be moving quickly through your 12th. Saturn will be there for a couple of years. But Jupiter will touch your sign and then it will reverse, go backwards again and retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. So towards the end of the year, Jupiter will be leaving, and next year, 2022 will be a major blessing for you, but also having Saturn in your 12th, he's the Lord of Karma. He's quite, a lot of people fear Saturn, but Saturn in Aquarius is not as dark and heavy as he is in the sign of Capricorn. So you've been dealing with a lot of 11th house matters. So friendships, anything to do with the internet, groups and associations, wishes. Remember the 11th house, the whole of 2020, you've been dealing with 11th house matters. Now, 11th house can also be money is coming through from career. So you've been going through restrictions, limitations. I feel with Saturn moving out of your 11th house now, could be bringing in the gifts for you. Jupiter is stronger in Aquarius than it was in Capricorn in your 11th. Okay, now Venus is transiting your 10th house of career, your status, your social standing. The South Node is also in your 10th house, which is saying you need to shed something old, something karmic to do with 10th house matters. 10th house is the boss. It's the throne that you want to, that you're working towards, right? It's your aspirations, your goals, but it's also the house of the father. Now Venus, remember there was an eclipse there, a solar eclipse on the 14th of December. at 23 degrees of Sagittarius. That was your 10th house, which had to do with something karmic that you need to shed. The eclipse will eclipse something out of your life that was karmic, that was old, that was tattered, that was weighing you down. Now, Venus and Juno are transiting your 10th as well. So this is money coming through from career. This is love coming through from this is love coming through or your status changing, because Venus can mean values, it can mean money, it can mean feeling as though you are worthy of conjoining, of committing either to a career, a promotion, where you're going to become the emperor and the empress, or love is coming through from career. So you could be getting together with your boss. You could be sleeping with the CEO, for all I know. Whatever it is, and I feel that a lot of you, your status is going to change, because Juno she's the wife of Zeus, Jupiter. And she's going to come onto that south node, which means she needs to shed something old from the past. Remember that south node, something that we know, but it's something that we need to let go of and grow into our north node in Gemini. So, you know that the 12th house is always something behind our back. Something's happening behind our back. So it can also speak of fears. Okay, the fears of the unknown. And remember that you naturally rule the 12th house. So it's very strong for you. The positive thing, and I'm going to say, look, Saturn is always limiting. He's trying to hold Jupiter back. But Jupiter is in air. He's going to fly through your 12th house. And he's going to come into your first and bring you all those blessings. Remember, 12th house, Jupiter, very spiritual. Saturn, even though he's limiting, he's karmic. We could be shedding some form of a karma and doing things in an untraditional, innovative way. Okay, breaking the old ideas, leaving past restrictions in the past and moving into newness, ending that cycle, shedding the past, letting go and starting new. In whichever matter for you that is, we all have a different natal chart. So it's going to be different for all of you. For those of you that are interested, for me to look at your birth chart, you're welcome anytime. Just send me an email. Okay? All right. So, dear Pisces, major endings, closing the door on a karmic past. This is like you being reborn here. Something has been holding you back, no doubt, here. Something has been holding you back. I'm going to say that some of you, because the Saturn and Jupiter were in your 11th house, you know, they could be like benevolent people, important people that you've met through groups and associations. You could be, I don't know, maybe teaming up with, or any restrictions to a new chapter. I think that's what you're dealing with now. That's what you're letting go of. Anything that's been limiting you. And I'm going to say maybe even, because remember that the 12th house is also the house of dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. Some of you could be also receiving messages through the subconscious. Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention for signs and synchronicities as well. Because remember that Saturn in mythology, I mean Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn was the father, Jupiter was the son, but Uranus was the grandfather. So this has got to do with your heritage, your ancestors. This could be ancestral for you. But it's a lighter energy, dear Pisces. It is a lighter energy. All right. All right. I will leave it there, dear Pisces. I do hope that that helped you. Just one last thing before I go. Just letting you know that beginning of January, Mars is going to come closer to Uranus in your third and conjoin. That could be quite explosive. So be careful with communications, anything to do with the internet, if you're collaborating with a small group. I mean, this could be harsh energy, right? Because it will be squaring over to these two big planets in your 12th. Okay, and third house is also siblings, neighbors, uncles, and aunts. Things to do also with your environment. So I don't know how that will work out for you, but just, keep your eye on that around the 6th of January until the 20th. That on a collective scale for everyone. This will be happening for everyone. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to say the divine is there for to bring in the light to our lives. We need to come out of this darkness. We need to come out of this fear. Our world is changing on a massive scale, and we're all changing along with it. It's just some of us are having more trouble than others with catching up or reforming or transforming or whatever it is. And that's for an individual, but also for everyone. So we're all in this together, everyone. Thank you, Pisces. I will leave it there for you. I'm wishing you well, and thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. I do read all the comments. So I will leave you there. Much love, much light, and many blessings, dear Pisces. Love to you always.